So, this right here is Project Borealis. For most Half-Life fans, they may have at least heard of this, but for those of you who don't know, Project Borealis was a project that a bunch of Half-Life fans were working on. Though their goal was to make an episode 3 to Half-Life. Because for the past decade or so, for the past, before Half-Life Alyx was released, remember, it was over a decade since we've seen any Half-Life content. So these fans realized that if anything, it was going to be up to them to make a Half-Life 3. So they began work on the project, and it appeared to be going well until Half-Life Alyx was released. Or no, not released, was announced. And of course that was a big thing because it was a Half-Life game, and we hadn't seen anything from Half-Life since 2008. Anything major or official. So their last update was in March 13th, 2020. Over a year ago. Well, over a year ago. Actually, this is filmed on the 26th, so it was exactly 13 days ago, oddly enough. But March 13th, 2020. Now, essentially, yes, this is their last update. And it is on YouTube, and you'll see a bunch of comments asking what happened. We have not seen an update from them in a year. And there's a lot of fan theories that went about. I'll get to those later. A lot of theories that regarding Project Borealis and what happened to it. We have not seen a single update from them in 30 years. At least I don't think we have. Their main website is not hosting anything. Now, they do have a developer blog regarding Half-Life Alyx, and I read through this. And essentially what this means was, or what they were saying was that they're going to continue working on the project even though Half-Life Alyx was announced. And at the time, Half-Life Alyx, I don't think it was confirmed whether it was going to be a sequel or a prequel or not. So it led to their sort of, they still plan to continue working on it and release it. Now, with the ending of Half-Life 3, with the ending of Half-Life Alyx, that, it does, I guess, confirm that Valve is working on a Half-Life 3. However, that's what they said in 2008, so who knows? It may take them another decade or so to, continue the Half-Life series. Anyways, so the last update, again, was in March 13th, 2020, over a year ago. What this update states is that they're going to continue work on the game, and they might, they might investigate or look into VR. However, seeing as, the last update was over a year ago, I keep stating this over and over again, I think one of my theories of what happened is that due to Half-Life Alyx's ending, and due to the fact that, essentially, another Half-Life game was released, that I think they, in the end, just got unmotivated to work on another Half-Life game. You see, again, they started working on this when it was pretty official that we weren't going to see another Half-Life game. Half-Life 3 was never officially canceled, Jesus, I cannot speak. It was never officially canceled, but it was pretty clear that nothing was going to be released. At least, it seemed evident at the time. Of course, that all changed with Half-Life Alyx. I dropped something. But, yeah, that all changed with Half-Life Alyx. And, yeah, but for the longest time, no one thought anything was going to be released. Valve completely changed that, and in the process, they may have fucked up the development cycle of Project Borealis. Now, I don't think they ever released anything on story, or they never released any updates on what the story was going to be like. They mostly just released gameplay footage and development footage, and things like that. And yeah, not over time, just out of nowhere, they did about monthly updates, maybe skipping a month here and there. Well, sort of monthly updates. But yeah, they stopped in a year ago. So again, my own theory is that Half-Life Alyx, the ending alone of Half-Life Alyx is a lot. If you've seen the true ending. But Half-Life Alyx alone, the announcement of that, if anything, states that Valve does still have interest in the series. And again, they rightfully should. It's a great series, including Half-Life Alyx as well. But I think their interest in the series, pretty much, deterred the people behind Project Borealis from continuing the project. And I guess that's understandable. Again, this was made with the assumption that there wasn't going to be any other Half-Life game, or any, it was made with the assumption that there wasn't going to be another Half-Life game or any sort of Half-Life related news coming out. The only news we got about Half-Life 3, the only major news was basically what Mark Laidlaw released called Epistle 3. For those of you who don't know what that was, when it was pretty evident, this is, again, a long time ago, about a decade ago or so, maybe a little after, or maybe a little less than that, Mark Laidlaw, who was the writer for Half-Life at the time, when it was pretty evident that Half-Life 3 was not going to be released, he released this, I guess, sort of document called Epistle 3, which was basically a rundown of the events of Half-Life 3 and what would occur. It resulted in Judith Mossman dying. I think Kleiner was also dead. No, I think Kleiner was alive. I know Judith died. Don't remember what happened to Barney, and I know that Gordon and Alex were alive. They said that this is their take on Epistle 3, which is honestly what I would go after if I was making a Half-Life 3 game or a fan-made Half-Life 3 project. But in the end, I think the announcement of Half-Life Alyx, there being another Half-Life game in general, just sort of set them off course. Because again, I keep restating this, I'm going to say it again, this was made when it really started to be clear that Valve didn't have interest in the series anymore and just sort of gave up. And that we weren't going to see another Half-Life game. Again, that all changed a year ago with the release of Half-Life Alyx. And yes, again, they could pull they could do what they did a decade ago, over a decade ago by now. They could not say anything and essentially make... I'm trying to get my stuff straight here. Essentially, they could just not make another Half-Life game. You know, again, we went over a decade without a Half-Life game. We may have to wait another decade to get another game. Or they may have stopped working on Half-Life entirely. So, what is there left to say? Well, again, there's multiple speculations about what happened. Mine is that they want to continue the project, but they realized, you know what, it may not be the easiest thing now that the Valve has shown interest in the series, unless some legal trouble happened behind the scenes that we didn't know about. But if you look on their YouTube channel, and you look at their blog here and whatnot, you can see that they've stopped updating and stopped posting since last year. So that's my personal speculation. Again, it's the non-original speculation, but I feel it is reasonable enough. Now I'm going to take a look at Installation 01, and this is much more obvious that this was a Halo fan-made game. Now, again, this was, of course, a fan-made game, but it was developed at a time where there wasn't going to be... People didn't believe there was going to be a Halo game on PC, so this was meant by the fans, for the fans, you can read there. This is meant for Halo fans who want to play Halo on their PCs, but couldn't. The only Halo games we got before the Master Chief Collection was ported to PC, the only games we got were, aside from fan games, Halo 1 and Halo 2. That was it. We did not get much else, anything else, again, aside from fan games and, of course, Halo Wars. But any of the later games, like Reach, 3, ODST, 4 even, they were not ported to PC. So this was meant to give a more Halo fans a more modern Halo experience. Again, that'll change with the addition of the Master Chief Collection to PC, and of course the announcement of Halo Infinite. Not really announcement anymore, but Halo Infinite, of course, is now coming to PC. At least it's planned to. Its page is already on the Steam store. So let's take. I'm taking a look at the updates here, and there's a New Year's update, 1/1/2021. However, the update before that was I think about what? 7 months ago, back in 5/17/2020, which I believe is May. I think that's about May, yeah. So their last update was in May of 2020, then they released one in New Year's, or January 1st, 2021. And, well, as you can see, the updates here are very few and far between, sort of. But yeah, I don't know how passionate they still are on the project regarding the fact that, again, modern Halo, or modern-ish Halo, is now on the PC. Here's the New Year's update. What the year 2020's been, I'm not really sure where to begin. The entirety's been a roller coaster. If the roller coaster only went down, someone sabotaged the brakes. We'll read for everyone. I'm just gonna read through this really quickly and basically give a rundown of what everything is. What's going on. Essentially, after reading this through, this is basically a rundown of the development cycle of Installation 01, and it's not the happiest. Well, I mean, as you can imagine, with everything that happened in 2020, of course, video games, among other things, were very victimized by it, with, of course, everything else. But basically, this year's been anything but forgiving. They're still passionate about the project, which is nice. It's nice to hear from them in the new year of 2021. So, I guess we can look forward to that. But again, it may fall the route of Project Borealis, which I could be wrong about. I'll admit, I could be wrong about Project Borealis, but we haven't seen an update from a year, and as far as I know, I don't think they've been posting anywhere else. I could take another look around, and probably will. But I don't know if they have any social media. I don't know what other social media they have. So, again, I think this little update for 2021 will bring, or shows that they are still hopeful and enthusiastic about releasing a fan-made Halo game, which is good. I honestly, if it was Halo and I was working on a game and even if they brought Halo to PC already, I'll still want to work on this, because who knows, it could play a little differently. Halo experiences can differentiate a lot. And seeing how this game plays, it does look like it's going to be a little different, or would play a little different from the other games, sort of. But it's mainly, of course, supposed to bring the same feel, but give it a more modernistic taste. So, yeah, this still says that, there was an update, and again, considering how few and far these updates are between, it, I guess makes sense that we've only seen one update so far in the new year. Wouldn't be surprised if we see another one, maybe in the next month, or in the month after that. But this is the, I guess, current status of Installation 01. And, again, I don't think Project Borealis has really been doing much, because you'd think if there were any updates, they were, they would put them on their website. But they're not. Here, again, another update. I would have less hope if the last update was the 5/17/2021, but we got another one, even though it was 7 months after, and for them it is a stretch, sort of. As you can see, some of these are 1 month apart, some of these are within the same month. I'm just going to back out of this. But I think they are still passionate about the project. I hope so, at least. Again, that development cycle rundown didn't leave the best promises, but we'll see. People are excited for this game still, at least I hope they are. I was looking at one of their videos on it. Their YouTube channel hasn't been updated in about a year, so I will state that. But one person in the comments of the last video said, I was literally a kid when they announced this. I'm 19 now and still waiting. So, yeah, I believe part of the reason why these projects died down is part of COVID, but also developers porting games to PC. And when that happens, you gotta ask yourself a question, is this still worth working on? And I say it is. Project Borealis, though, I don't know about, because, again, this was meant to give Half-Life fans a taste of what Episode 3 would have been like. If Valve is already doing that, it makes you, it begs the question of whether you should continue development. This is different. This game has no campaign, at least I don't think it was going to have a campaign. It's just meant for a multiplayer-only experience. Again, I believe it is. I don't think they said anything about having a campaign. So, yeah. This, I think, if anything, would probably make more sense to continue working on, considering the fact that, again, it's supposed to be its own little indie Halo game. Isn't meant to have the huge task of continuing Half-Life. It's just meant to be its little PvP-esque Halo multiplayer game. That wraps up this video for now. Again, I would really like to know where these projects went and what happened to them, but, well, we sort of know what's happening with Halo Infinite. No, not Infinite, Installation 01. But we'd like to know what's going on with Project Borealis behind the scenes, because, again, it would be really sad if they just decide to drop the project. But also, I could understand that, because, again, I said this multiple times throughout the video, I'm going to say it again, it was meant to give Half-Life fans a taste of what Episode 3 would have been like. And you know what? It could have been bad, but I give them credit for even taking on that task in the first place. That is a really hard task. And if it was just canceled due to development problems, such as the development cycle just not going well, you know what? Hats off to them for even trying in the first place. That is a hugely excruciating task to try and get done. So, even if they did release it and it turned out to be crap, I still think they shouldn't receive too much hate, because it is very hard to continue the Half-Life series, especially after lift off that big cliffhanger in Episode 2. However, that cliffhanger has been sort of altered, I guess, or countered in Half-Life Alyx. Either way, though, it's still two big cliffhangers it is very hard to continue a series like that, let alone have it be Half-Life, let alone have it feel like a Half-Life game. So, yeah. We'll see what happens in Installation 01. Again, I am also really passionate about this, and I hope they do end up releasing it because it would be fun to see. And it looks like it would be a fun game. Honestly, I'm not the biggest fan of Halo multiplayer. I prefer the single player campaigns, but this might be something fun to look at again if it's released. I don't think they've released any demos or anything like that, but yeah, there was Halo Online, which was also a fan-made game. That actually was really cool. That was, again, just really cool, and gave Halo fans a taste of what more modern Halo would look like. But as of now, we haven't heard much regarding these projects. So is Project Borealis going to release? If I had to make a guess, probably not. I have huge doubts. Then again, they could still be working on it, just decide not to give updates. Halo Installation 01, I have more hopes for, because, again, regarding what it doesn't have this huge task of continuing one of the greatest game franchises of all time. Halo was great, of course, but just the difficulty in continuing the Half-Life series is just immense, and could have put a real hamper on development regarding Half-Life Alyx.